All right, start the meeting at your discretion.
Welcome, everyone, to the October 12th meeting of the Camarillo and Oxnard Airport Authorities. Let's have our Pledge of Allegiance first. We have our guest, Vice Mayor Tony Tremblay. Could you do the honors?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Nafee, do we have any changes to the agenda? Let's get a roll call first. My mistake.
For Camarillo Authority, Supervisor Kelly Long. Vice Chair Supervisor Vianney Lopez.
Here.
Mayor Susan Santangelo has been excused. And Vice Mayor Tony Tremblay is here in her absence. Council Member Martita Martinez Bravo and Chair Scott Bear.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum for Camarillo. For Oxnard Authority, Supervisor Kelly Long. Vice Chair Supervisor Vianney Lopez.
Here.
Council Member Bert Perello has been excused. Council Member Gabe Teran has been excused. And alternate City Council Mayor John Zaragoza.
Here.
Thank you. And Chair Eugene Fussell.
Here.
We have a quorum for Oxnard. Thank you.
And Mr. Nafee, do we have any changes to the agenda?
No, the agenda is as it stands.
Okay. Next item on the agenda.
For Camarillo Authority Supervisor, Vice Chair Supervisor Vianney Lopez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tony Tremblay, Councilmember Martita Martinez Bravo, and Chair Scott Bear.
Yes.
The motion passes with one abstention.
Do we have a motion from Oxnard?
I'll move approval.
I'll second since I was here.
Mr. Chair, do I abstain? I wasn't here. Or do I have to abstain? Okay, so yes.
For Supervisor Vice Chair Vianney Lopez,
Yes.
Chair Eugene Fussell,
Yes,
and Mayor John Zaragoza,
Yes.
and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
And next on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Nafee, do we have public comment?
Chair Bear, we do have two public, are either of those for this item? Okay, we don't have anybody for this agenda item, and three people are currently online, but none have indicated that they wish to speak on this topic.
Okay. So new business. Review and approve the 2024 Airport Authorities meeting calendar. Director.
so what you have, authority members before you is, we thought to help for planning, you saw the rest of 2023, I believe at the last meeting, and what you have before you now is so that you can plan for 2024 in front of you. The only items that we don't meet typically in August and December. We have dates there should we need to meet, but those are typical dates we do not. But other than that, they are for planning purposes unless you have specific changes. And that's it.
Chair, there is no public comment. Last time and last night, I read instructions out to the public over this broadcast. Would you indulge me to do that? Okay. For those joining remotely, if you'd like to be added to the public comment queue, please be connected via Zoom. If not already connected and wish to make a public comment, you can find the Zoom link on the first page of the meeting agenda, which can be found at vcairports.org/meeting-calendar. If you wish to make a public comment on any agenda item, please press the raise hand button now. Or if you're calling in today, press star, then 9 to be added to the speaker queue. If you wish to make a written comment on a specific agenda item by email or mail, please submit your comment by 12 p.m. on the day prior to the meeting, which has passed. Now, your written comment will be distributed to authority members and made a part of the permanent meeting record. Written comments will be made available to the public and can be viewed online at bcairports.org/Camarillo-and-Oxnard-meeting-archives or in person at the Airport Administration Office located at 555 Airport Way, Suite B, Camarillo, California 93010. Public comments submitted in writing are public record and subject to disclosure. An unredacted version is made available when records are requested by a Public Records Act request. Please do not submit personal contact information if you do not wish to be made public. So with that, we still do not have any members who wish to speak on this item. And the three who were online for item 5, which is a public comment, are still there. So I think we can move on. Thank you.
For Camarillo, Vice Chair Supervisor Vianney Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Martina Martinez Bravo, Chair Scott Bear,
Yes.
and Vice Mayor Tony Tremblay. The motion passes unanimously.
Can we move, have somebody to move and approve the 2024 calendar for the Oxnard Airport?
I'll move approval.
Second,
It's been moved in second. Can we have a roll call?
For Oxnard Authority, Vice Chair Supervisor Vianney Lopez,
Yes.
Chair Eugene Fussell,
Yes.
and Mayor John Zaragoza.
yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Next up on our hit parade is a receive and file a monthly staff update from Communications Engagement Manager.
Good evening to you all. My name is Jeanette Haregi. I am the Communications and Engagement Manager and Public Information Officer for the Ventura County Department of Airports, and I'm happy to be here tonight. The County of Ventura Department of Airports was established in 1976 and manages Camarillo Airport and Oxnard Airport. Together, these airports provide vital connections to the national airspace system and are home to many businesses and individual aircraft owners, all of whom contribute to the economic vitality of Ventura County and/or serve as philanthropic contributors through a variety of nonprofit organizations. Such contributions are often made without knowledge from the general public. International, national, and locally based organizations such as Pilots for Pause, Angel Flight, Lighthawk, and the VC-99's Experimental Aircraft Association, and more are heroes in local aviation. The Department of Airports is highlighting these unsung heroes through periodic short feature stories designed to not only put a spotlight on those who tirelessly serve the community, but to also help educate the community about a portion of local aviation that is often overlooked. Tonight, I eagerly share our second story in this series, focusing on Al Cossey's work with Angel Flight West. And there's a photo displayed of Al, and Al is also here in attendance this evening. Chances are that when most Ventura County residents think of Camarillo and Oxnard airports, they think of current operations made up of mostly flight training, private jets, and businesses, including Golden West Jet Center, Aspen Helicopters, Cloud9, the Waypoint Cafe, just to name a few. Mixed in are likely memories of when Camarillo Airport was an Air Force base through the 1960s, or when Oxnard Airport's terminal was bustling with commercial travelers. There are likely even memories of the critical part Oxnard Airport played for the Army Air Corps and Navy during World War II. What many arguably don't know is that the role of both airports extends well beyond traditional operations and into the realm of national nonprofit organizations that focus on environmental conservation, life-changing flights to medical appointments, and animal rescue and sheltering, all made possible by locally based pilots who volunteer their time, fuel, and planes to conduct missions aimed at making a difference. Among those pilots is Al Cossey, a Ventura County resident based at Camarillo Airport. Cossey is one of 348 active command pilots for the California South Wing of Angel Flight West, a nonprofit organization based out of Santa Monica. Over the last 40 years, Angel Flight West has provided safe and accessible transportation to more than 20,000 individuals needing assistance to and from medical appointments and other destinations at no charge. The organization was originally established by volunteer pilots looking for a way to give back. Initially recognized as the American Medical Support Flight Team, the organization merged with Angel Flight, a nationally based nonprofit, and has completed 3,600 missions this year alone. This month, the organization will mark its 100,000th flight since its inception in the 1980s. There are 12 separate wings, and of the 12 wings, the California South Wing is the largest and most active, Cossey said. We might be based in Southern California, but we will fly anywhere that is needed. Made up of volunteer pilots, Angel Flight focuses its work on ambulatory patients with no other means of transportation to medical appointments, including surgeries, chemotherapy, burn care, and transplants. There are missions for children with severe burn scars headed to summer camps with other kids who have been through the same trauma. It's a place they feel safe, Cossey said, and there are missions with urgent blood donations. The scope of work is nearly endless. It was developed to fill a need, Cossey said. All pilots are volunteers who believe wholeheartedly in the purpose of every mission. The original founders credited the decision to not reimburse volunteer pilots for expenses as a major contributor to assuring that those joining the organization did it for the right reasons, to serve. Cossey added that missions were initially based on requests from hospital administrators or medical professionals, a requirement that has changed over time. Individual patients may now request their own flight, excuse me, but medical documentation is still required to verify the need. Once scheduled, a volunteer known as a ground angel picks the client up from their home to take them to their destination airport. A volunteer command pilot then flies them to the requested airport where a second ground angel picks them up to take them to their appointment. What happens when weather is a problem or pilots aren't available? Angel Flight West has an established partnership with Alaskan and Southwest Airlines, and tickets are available for those in need. Additionally, if a ground angel isn't available, Angel Flight schedules and pays for ground transportation, such as Uber or Lyft, to and from the airport. Cossey flies a handful of missions monthly in his Cessna 182, and noted that many pilots fly repeated missions with the same patients and get to know them well. There is an established rapport, he said, and when we receive updates on clients, including those who have passed, well, it hits us hard and reminds us why we're there. He continued, "You're saving lives, human lives, and I can't think of anything more meaningful than that." For more information or to learn how to get involved, visit angelflightwest.org. And I'd like to extend my thanks and gratitude to Al, who's here this evening, for graciously sharing his story. He wants to make sure we make it a point to note that he's one of many local pilots that serve the community at this capacity and many other capacities. And so while he's slightly uncomfortable with taking the spotlight tonight, I think it's important to shed light on these stories and note that his is an example of many coming out of Oxnard and Camarillo airports. Thank you.
Enjoy the spotlight, Al. Well done.
Mr. Chair, question, or Jeanette, how is the funding, how is it the Angels flights funded, and is there any cost for the users, for the patients?
There's no cost for the users, but I'll let Al, I don't know if Al wants to.
Because this is
speak to
outstanding. This is really absolutely great, so. Yes,
Funding, yes.
beautiful. Well, thank you for your service. It's really outstanding. Thank you so much.
So for those who are online, the question was, how is this program funded? And Al's answer is that it's 100% donation based. So there's fundraisers and other means of raising funds, but no cost again to any of the patients or people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Tremblay.
Thank you. Mr. Cossey, I just want to salute you and thank you for your public service. I am privileged to have a good friend who also does the same thing as you do. I don't believe it's with Angels Flight, but I know that he has done it consistently out of Santa Barbara to Camarillo and back when the 101 has been impassable, I'll put it that way, with some natural disasters. And I just think the world of him for doing it. I think the world of you for doing this, and it's deeply appreciated. So you may be uncomfortable with the recognition, but I'm really glad you're getting it tonight. So anyway, thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other public comments? Ms. Martinez Bravo. Green button. Green button.
Can you hear me now? Okay. One of my favorite parts in serving with city council and when we have our city council meetings is providing presentations to community members who continue to make the city of Camarillo a better place. And one of my favorite parts here in serving with Airport Authority is these presentations and acknowledgements to these same people who really are the heart to our community. And I am so thankful, and I did not know about your organization, but I will definitely look more into it. You literally are angels saving lives on earth. And I am so thankful and grateful for that. May God bless you.
Any other comments from Camarillo? Okay, I'll move that we receive and file. Do we have a second? Vice Mayor Tremblay seconded. Can we get a roll call?
For Camarillo Authority, Vice Chair Supervisor Vianney Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Martita Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Chair Scott Bear,
Yes.
and Vice Mayor Tony Tremblay.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
Can we get a motion for receipt and file from Oxnard?
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
For Oxnard Authority, Vice Chair Supervisor Vianney Lopez,
Yes.
Chair Eugene Fussell,
Yes.
and Mayor John Zaragoza.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
Next up, receive and file financials for the period ending June 30th, 2023. Director.
So authority members, you have before you is our full year 2022-23. No real surprises. I think we have slided as a summary. What you see here is we continue the bottom section, the operating loss gain before depreciation continues to be near $2.5 million over the last 5 years, combining all revenues and expenses between the two airports and the airport business park here at Camarillo. And then at the last page, page 39 in the packet, you'll see our reserves were at the beginning of the year 15 million, and they're sitting at 19 million as we speak. So you've heard the construction projects that we have coming, but it's other things, like our Part 150 noise study process that we're going through right now. We will expend funds to implement some of those noise mitigation programs that we ultimately come up with at the end. So it's those resources we will use not only for construction, maintenance of the airfield, but things like that, the Part 150 studies that we're doing for both Oxnard and Camarillo Airport. So if there's any specific questions on the detail, happy to answer those.
Director, I'm not a money guy, I'll tell you that from the start, but I was confused on the first page where the uniform and clothing were 10 times more for Oxnard than Camarillo.
Do you want to give me a page and I can,
It's on page 32,
32, okay?
under rev expenditures. First page.
Yes, so uniforms are basically tied to our requirements for the Part 139 certificate that we still maintain at Oxnard. So the bulk of things like our turnouts, firefighting turnout equipment, you see larger expenses and that kind of equipment specifically for our crews associated with Oxnard. So, yeah.
And the other thing that I was concerned about was the percentage of lease. And Oxnard was higher than Camarillo by, almost a third as much.
Give me a line.
Percentage of lease rent on the revenue.
So revenues, okay.
It's on page 32. It's the third item down.
Yeah, I'd have to look at specifically what our in revenue.
Well, there's just so much more that's being rented over at Camarillo than it is in Oxnard. And I admit that I'm not
Yeah, I
a
don't know if
financial person.
Jamal,
Can't understand that.
we don't. We can get that information.
Okay, no
Yeah,
problem.
what specifically is different. Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm happy with it.
Commissioner-
Yeah, I mean, again, it's probably a category because if you look at the line above where you have rents and concessions, you see Camarillo.
Yeah, 2 million.
2 million.
300.
So it's, some specific category in lease and rent and revenue that's just different, but we'll pull that out.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Mr. Director, a while back, when I was at the airport authority, they were talking about airline service in Oxnard. Have we pursued that any longer? I know that at one time they're talking about flying from Oxnard to San Francisco or just Oxnard to LAX. Have we looked at that at all, to augment our revenue source?
Yeah, I mean, to tie into all of those, yes, we have and we continue to market and try to bring in particularly specifically to Oxnard airline service. We're continuing, the airlines are continuing to struggle through recovery of the pandemic period. Now they're struggling with enough equipment, enough flight crews, pilots, things like that. So, we expect it to balance out in the next few years and it'll make it easier for us to try to market those, but we do continue to do that.
Yeah, because at one time, the Naval Base Ventura County had quite a few of the service guys using the service from Oxnard to LAX.
There was a great partnership with the then current airline to do that.
Exactly.
Yes. And we're also doing, we have a couple parcels, a 5 acre and a 7 acre parcel that are vacant that we're moving through the development process.
Where the buses are.
Where the buses are next to the tower, correct? And then some redevelopment next to Golden West.
Right.
Down the way, some of the older hangars, we redo those. So those are in the works, but the development process is typically a few years.
That could probably augment our revenue sources.
That will for sure.
Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other comments? Director, thanks. From the Camarillo side of the house, I move to receive and file the financial report.
Chair, before we move to do that, we'll check for any public comment.
Public comment, please. Thank you.
Chair, I can report there are no members of the public who wish to speak on this item.
Okay, then back to my motion that we receive and file the financial report from Director Fritz.
I'll second.
We have a second? We have 2 seconds.
For Camarillo Authority, Vice Chair Supervisor Vianney Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Martita Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Chair Scott Bear,
Yes.
and Vice Mayor Tony Tremblay. Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
From Oxnard to motion to receive and file the director report.
Did you say move or?
Would you please move?
I will move. I didn't hit.
I'll second.
I will
it.
move approval. Thank you.
It's been moved in second. Can we get a roll call?
Thank you. For Oxnard Authority, Vice Chair Supervisor Vianney Lopez,
Yes.
Chair Eugene Fussell,
Yes.
and Mayor John Zaragoza.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
And next on the agenda, receive and file a staff update on the Part 150 study.
Good evening, Chair Bear and Chair Fussell, authority members, Aaron Powers, Projects Administrator. This evening, I'm here to share a little bit from our September meetings for the Part 150 noise studies for Camarillo and Oxnard airports. If you can- That's a new addition, so sorry, I was surprised. If we could move to the next slide.
And did you notice how quiet it was? See?
A big benefit. So for our noise studies, we just recently held our second round of public meetings and the end of September. Starting with Oxnard Airport on September 25th, we held in the afternoon a PAC meeting or a Planning Advisory Committee meeting, and we had approximately 20 members attend that planning session, followed by the public meeting in the evening, of which for Oxnard, we had 10 members of the public attend. And then the following day on the 26th, we held the same format for Camarillo Airport noise study, a PAC meeting in the afternoon. We had approximately 17 members attend of the PAC. And then in the evening, we had 58 members of the public attend and gather information. So these meetings focused on chapters 3 and 4 of the first part of the noise study. So if we could go to the next slide, I'm just sort of going to remind, to put in context, the Part 150 noise study is really made up of two components. We have the NEMs, or which is the noise exposure maps, first half of the study, and then we have the noise compatibility plan, which is the second half of the study. We have our first, second meetings have really focused on the first part of the study, the NEM. And so our first meetings focused on the inventory and forecasts. The second meetings that we just held focused on aviation noise and noise impacts, including the monitoring that the airwork conducted over 4 months leading up to these meetings. The project timeline or our next steps in the process, we're moving towards finalizing, reviewing comments received, and then finalizing chapters 3 and 4. So next month in November, we're going to have Kaufman come to your authority and share a presentation to sort of summarize where we're at with the NEM part of the study. And following that, we'll be submitting the NEMs or the noise exposure maps to the FAA for approval. So that approval is really where we're marching towards. Our schedule indicates that we are going to be submitting that in November, the final NEMs for FAA approval, which we do have a clock ticking on that for submission to the FAA. So we're on schedule right now and working towards that effort. Once we submit that first part of the study to the FAA, then we're really going to be able to turn our focus to the second half of the study, which is the noise compatibility plan. And this is really where many of, some of the comments we heard and the noise exposure maps themselves, the noise contours that are developed following the FAA criteria for Camarillo Airport show no residences within the 65 CNEL. And for Oxnard Airport, there's a small quadrant in the northeast that for some parcels that abut the airport property line, but otherwise don't extend further and therefore don't really reflect a lot of the concerns about noise that we've been hearing from our community. So, and part of our messaging and part of even during these meetings is, we understand that and we hear your concerns. That's why that's for the second part. So the noise compatibility plan is where we'll be able to really sort of hear those concerns and explore what can be done. And once we submit that first part, that'll free us up to go ahead and start really getting into the details of how that's going to work, what the exact timeline is. Right now, our schedule shows a meeting in May of 2024, but we'll be able, ahead of there, we'll be working out the details and then sharing more information about actual schedule. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any or comments.
Thank you, Ms. Powers. Any questions from Camarillo?
I do have a question. I know we're not there yet, but when we do get to the point where we can let the community know what the, impact of the studies were, will those communications be in both English and Spanish?
Yes, so we have committed for this entire study, especially because it's sort of this is focused on the short term, but we also have some long-term elements for the noise exposure maps and for the forecast. We are translating everything into Spanish. And then at our public meetings, we are offering live interpretation in Spanish and Mixteco.
Okay, I do remember that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just a comment and actually a compliment on the outreach efforts, because I noted in relation to what Marquita had said, that the outreach efforts have encompassed both English and Spanish in terms of outreach. But what I wanted to particularly focus on in preparing, I'm just the rookie pinch hitter for this meeting for our mayor tonight. But in looking at the agenda reports, I particularly took note of the airport noise study fact sheet. So I know we're getting streamed, so I'm going to hold it up. This is really excellent work. And I want to compliment staff and consultant on it because I feel like, gee, if I can understand it, then everybody else can. It's very, very well done. And in a nutshell, it captures what is going on relative to the two phases of the airport mini study. So I just wanted to give you my compliments and say thanks to staff and to the consultant for the great work. That's it. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Long.
Thank you. I just came from the South Bay Community Neighborhood Meeting, and we were talking about noise study, and it was great to see that the whole audience knew that there was a noise study happening.
That's great.
Very often we do things in a bubble, or you think you got out and you did your outreach and you didn't. So I'm happy just in all of the districts that I know of. In my district, it's been good to hear that people know that the study is happening. And so kudos to everyone getting that information out, because everyone's busy and getting people to pay attention to those kind of things is important. And then also I received my emails for both the Camarillo Airport and the Oxnard Airport, and that I could put it in English or Spanish and bring in my comments. It was very user friendly. So I want to appreciate that as well for all the efforts. So thank you.
Any other comments, questions from Camarillo? Okay, do we have a motion to receive and file?
Chair
Chair,
Scott Barrett, we're going to
public
pause
comment, my
for, we do have a
mistake.
public comment in person.
Do we have any public comment?
We have one in person, yes.
One online as well.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for tonight. My name is Renee Hatcher. I'm a resident of Old Town Camarillo. I've been there since 2005. I love living in Old Town. And when I bought my house, I did know there was an airport nearby. It was not a surprise. And I really didn't have any issues with the airport until recent years, as jet traffic has increased. Either as a result of COVID or development here at the airport, it has significantly affected my home life. Staff here has told us, and we agree, the number of flights coming into the airport has not increased, but the type of traffic definitely is causing an impact. I live by the water tower, and there are times it sounds like I live under a NASCAR track. The jets are so loud, they make it impossible to hold normal conversations. And sometimes it's so loud outside, I have to actually cover my ears while working in my garden. It's painful. The jets are noisy as they approach, as they leave, and are just unbearable while they're overhead. The jets come all day long, and they also come at night, waking up my family. It's sometimes multiple times a week, sometimes multiple times a night. Unfortunately, some of you receive my late night emails, and I apologize for the tone. I'm tired and cranky when I write those. I now have a calibrated decimal reader at my home due to this, and it tells me the readings exceed what is our acceptable safe levels. I believe the draft noise study also reflects that as well, but I haven't had a chance really to get into that. So much of this would be resolved if the flight path could be adjusted to have incoming flights coming out over the agricultural fields. If all incoming flights, jets included, could follow the fly-friendly program. But we understand nothing can be done about that or changed until the results of the noise study are in. And I just found out today the draft noise study is available, and they're asking for comments to come back from the community by Sunday. It's a pretty big report. It includes a lot of detail. And unfortunately, we can't even print out parts of it because it's restricted. I'm sure that'll be resolved and we'll get a chance to review this. But I feel that something as important as this needs to allow the residents time to adequately review it and give commentary. I asked there be an extension to allow residents sufficient time to review the report. This affects our lives, and it appears this report may not even provide the information that we're looking for. We don't know yet. The responsible thing would be to allow us time to make sure that the people who live in the neighborhood have a chance to review it and comment back on it. The noise study is an important gesture, and we appreciate all the work that's gone into it and the community outreach and our involvement. We just want to help resolve this situation, and I think one step towards that would to give us allow us enough time to review it and give public comment back. Thank you.
Ms. Hatcher, question. When did you receive notice about the study?
About the noise study?
About the draft report.
We received an email this afternoon. Actually, I found it this morning because I do go to the website regularly, and I saw it said something about they want comments back by the 15th. So I reached out to my group. And you can click and find the documents there, but we received an email this afternoon from Jeanette letting us know it's available.
A question for staff. Is there any reason we can't extend that a week, give the residents some time to digest that report?
So to be clear, as we started the whole process, it is open for comment. It has been since we kicked off, the first pack and public meetings in March. So it's always been open for comment. The message that we just sent out was just a reminder of that for following up the second. So it's always been available for folks. That's the whole process we're following, is providing input and comments.
So this is not a new document that's just come out.
It's the next phases that we just did for the public meeting back in September, kind of review. And let me be clear, is throughout the whole process, all the way until we do the final print, comments can be made. So I'll be clear on that. The comments in particular we're looking for are to develop, as Aaron mentioned, we got a timeline to submit to the FAA, a component, which is this, the noise contours. So those are the important comments. If you have specific comments on the noise contours, again, we've used the FAA, the consultant has used the FAA modeling. So we're not expecting many changes in that. Most of the comments we have are, what are you doing about the noise? How are we going to make changes? As Aaron talked about, it's really the next phase, the next 5, 6, 7, 8 months that we're going to be going through 2024. What can we do? And I'll just use what Renee talks about, the approaches into Camarillo. That's where we're going to be doing some deep analysis. Can we move the approach path to the north over Highway 101? Can we move it south over ag? Can we raise the altitude? Can we have them come in the opposite direction at nighttime? Those are all the things we'll do, spend time, money, researching and doing analysis on. So again, that's all the comments that we ultimately want from community members. We kind of know where the issues are. We've got some history already on that. So it's not surprising, but the comment specifically in the timing is for the as Aaron mentioned, the noise exposure models that we're going to be submitting to the FAA by the end of the year. And we have to do that by the end of the year, or if you miss the year, you have to throw all that, you'd have to start all over again. So we don't want to do that. We've spent 6, 7 months.
Is there a problem that's preventing printing? Is there some of the pages
That's the
locked?
first we've heard of the printing. We don't know.
Yeah, can we take a look at that? And
It's the first notice, but we will look at that. And
Yeah.
we'll work with Renee to figure that out.
Yeah,
Specifically.
I mean, if that's the case and we can fix that in the morning and let people know, that would be great. Any comments? Oh, do we have, wait, do we have any other public comments?
Yes, we do have an online comment from Ben Di Benedetto.
Good evening, and thanks for allowing me to speak. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend the last meeting. I was out of state, so couldn't quite do it. My comments tonight are based on having studied the material both prior to the meeting and in conversation and notes with others that were at the meeting. Most of my comments tonight have to do with the compatibility. As we know, there's the Old Teal Club development, which is what Ms. Powers mentioned. There are actually 8 parcels that are affected that are above, that are between 65 and 75 CNL. Of those 8 parcels, 5 are between 65 and 70, and 3 are between 70 and 75. Those need to be mitigated. In the 1998 study, which was not in the archives and not available, it recommended that the county purchase that property and relocate those folks because there is no way to mitigate that sound based that close to the runway. They're literally just off the runway. So I'm anxious to see what the new study will show when we get to that point. Even though the 1998 draft was not accepted by the County Board of Supervisors, which is the reason I'm assuming it wasn't in anybody's archives, but it's interesting that the Ventura County Transportation Committee accepted it and that the FAA accepted it. The Transportation Committee uses it for the general plan and for the airport land use plan. And they make recommendations on development surrounding the airport based on that study. The FAA uses it to make out your property disclosure when you buy a piece of property that is near the airport. If you click the link at the FAA, it brings up the 1998 study. So I'm concerned about how we move forward with future development. One problem that we are also seeing is that the North Shore development at 5th and Harbor was changed from parkland by the city to a development of high density residential. It is the city of Oxnard's prerogative to change the zoning and develop property. The Oxnard Advisory Commission has not looked at the city and has not looked to the community for input, even though it's in their charter. There is a letter from the city in the EIR report for North Shore development that the airport will not fly over that development. Well, now they're grading for streets. I know it's been several years and several developers. That's an ongoing problem. The Portofino development is entitled and is not on the current maps that are in this study as anything other than an empty parcel. Phase 1 is completely entitled. Phase 2 is in the stages of final approval for permits. And that's right across the street from the airport. So I hope we can work together, the city, county, and the aviation committee moving forward. Thank you.
Chairs, there are no more persons online wishing to speak.
Okay. Then from Camarillo, I move that we receive and file the, oh, we have comments. By mistake.
I wanted to speak to Ms. Hatcher's request and comment. And Ms. Hatcher, thank you for your comments this evening. I guess my question to staff is, there's a request for a brief extension. My thought would be 1 week. It sounds to me like what I'm walking away with is that there is a discrete data set in this newly available material, which hasn't been available for public review before. So a request, if I'm correct, am I correct in that? There's a discrete data set that's not been available for review?
No, the airport studies website has materials, chapters 3 and 4, and the associated appendices were posted prior to the meetings, the public meetings, and have been available for review and comment since.
Yeah.
From day one, March.
Friday before the.
Yeah, I would say roughly,
Sorry, I don't have my phone for
roughly the
calendar.
20th of September in that time frame.
Okay. I mean,
So let's
I'm-
call it 3 weeks at least.
So if they've been available for about 3 weeks. I mean, obviously I'm concerned about critical path schedule and I'm aware that you've got that, let's use that term, critical path deadlines that you have to meet. I just wanted to know. So it's been available now for about 3 weeks?
Yeah, so yes, it was published just prior to the public, the September 25th and 26th meetings.
Okay, so it's not been a 72-hour issue. I mean, my concern frankly was I think it was reasonable. If this is a newly available and discrete data set, it's reasonable to request a consideration of a short extension, especially given the printing issue. Because some folks, me included, tend to read things better from print rather than digital. But if it's been since September 20.
So the, I don't want to give an incorrect date. So it's been available to the PAC for 22nd.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. All right. Yeah, my concern is based on experience, it's hard to read an EIR in 3 days. And that's probably a very poor analogy or comparison, but all right. But I do think that it's appropriate, particularly to try to figure out this printing issue ASAP. And if that can be done tomorrow morning, that would be helpful.
Yes, we'll follow up on it
Okay,
right away.
thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Dr. Martinez Bravo.
Thank you, Councilmember Tremblay. My thought process was along the same lines. At this point, given the amount of time that it has been out, I think it's a fair amount for the community to review. Having said that, I think a quick resolution, at least for today, can also be if we can provide the printed material before when the meeting is completed here from our office. It may be just a technical issue coming from her computer or somebody's computer, but if we could fix that as soon as possible, that would be great. But if we can find a solution right away, that would even be better. Additionally, the only thing that I can say is I can empathize with what you have been experiencing. I live at Village at the Park. We do get the consistent noise, not only from the airport, but from the naval base as well. And I have been outside, in my garden as well. I wish I was out there a lot longer, but council has me quite busy. But having said that, when I am out there, on my watch, it does show like an alert for the decibels as well. So I do empathize with your concerns that you are bringing forward as well.
One other comment, Mr. Chair, and that is my understanding, is it accurate, Ms. Powers, that people can continue to comment on a going forward basis. This doesn't preclude comments on this material for the next several weeks or however long the full draft is available, correct? So in other words, there's not a cutoff in 72 hours.
So
correct?
what we're looking to do is to capture the significant or comments that would change significantly the data. And so far, and so that's what we're looking to do is to have a deadline for some of that material. We'll be working off of that to finalize, to make any adjustments needed and to finalize those chapters for submission. And so, but it does not preclude any member of the public or any citizen throughout the entire study process from submitting comments that they would like us to consider.
Okay.
And we will, and those comments will be made a part of the appendices either in the first half or the second half.
Okay, and that's where I was going. It doesn't preclude
No.
future comment. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Long.
One last thing, because I was confused by the emails as to when the new information was put out. I thought maybe if I got the email, then that meant the new information was out today or, the day I received it. So maybe we could work on that process or what the wording of the email is. So when we send reminders and so forth, we can note when the actual information was up versus when they're receiving the email. I don't know, just a thought.
No, I think what I'd like to offer from a communication standpoint, because these emails are coming from me. When the material was first available about 3 weeks ago, an email was sent out. You should have all received it, and definitely let me know if you're not receiving it. With the chapters being available, I will completely acknowledge that there's probably confusion and there needs to be acknowledgement that a clarification that the comments can be ongoing. And so first thing tomorrow morning, I'll send an email out following up on today's email, letting folks know that even though the deadline is the 15th, they can continue to submit comments and emphasize that concerns related to flight paths and those comments are going to be part of the next phase of the study. So I think clarification, this is a very complex situation and study for folks who are not in the aviation industry, myself included. I'm learning as we're going. So any way to clarify information or make the communication clearer is definitely something that I'm open to. So thank you, Renee, for your comment. And so I realize that not, pretty much all the people that receive the emails are not online tonight. So watching this meeting. So I'll ensure that everybody, there's several hundred people on the email list, will get a follow-up tomorrow clarifying that they can continue to comment beyond the 15th and that the next phase of the study will address flight patterns, et cetera. Thank you all.
Thank you. Any other comments? Camarillo, no. Okay. Do we have a motion to receive and file the report on the Part 150 study?
I'll move to receive and file.
We have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call?
For Camarillo Authority, Supervisor Kelly Long,
Yes.
Vice Chair Supervisor Vianney Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Martita Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Chair Scott Bear,
Yes.
and Vice Mayor Tony Tremblay.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, from Oxnard, can we get a motion to receive and file a staff update on the current Part 150 noise compatibility study?
So move, and can I also share some comments? Renee, you going to second this? Or?
I will second, yes.
I just, I just want to, first of all, I just, Aaron, and Jeanette and Mr. Freitas, I just want to thank you for working with the people over in Oxnard, and of course Camarillo too, I know with Oxnard Shores and West Oxnard and the Teal Club area, and especially over at G and H Street in Oxnard, I used to get a lot of complaints or concerns, probably that I call them concerns as opposed to complaints, noise, and that's really has come down tremendously, the complaints that I've heard from before. So I just want to commend you on that and the study, and I think it's important that we continue to do that. And I just like Director Freitas always says, being updates on what's happening, which I think is really important, even though I'm not in the authority every meeting, but as a sub, or I think it's great that you're doing a good job for the community. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can we get a roll call?
For Oxnard Authority, Supervisor Kelly Long,
Yes.
Vice Chair Supervisor Vianney Lopez,
Yes.
Chair Eugene Fussell,
Yes.
and Mayor John Zaragoza.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Next agenda item. Director's report.
I'm just going to finish that item, the Part 150, is that I'll be reaching out to our communities, particularly our neighboring cities, Camarillo and Oxnard, to kind of give an update, I think, to the elected officials, again, so that can be pushed through probably the first part of next year, kind of an update. get that information out. Couple items I have, I will keep it to the point here. Last meeting, our team, airport team, presented the private hangar lease transition. As mentioned, we had about 25 remaining entities. I know that this group asked that we maybe extend it just a little more. So we've agreed to do that to December 1st. So they have basically 2.5 months. And our first email that went out saying you have until that date moved several people already from the 25 list. So it might be closer to 20 at this point. So happy to report that. And the next item is the aircraft rescue and firefighting vehicle. We have older vehicles now. We were able to, as mentioned several years ago, find some surplus vehicles. One was donated by Burbank that's already on site at Oxnard. And we were able to find a second vehicle from SFO, which our board thank approved our acceptance of that last month. And we're working to replacement surplus better ARF vehicles at Oxnard pretty soon. And the last two items, just want to share with everybody. We're doing some internal staff, the Department of Airport Strategic Planning. We had our first all staff meeting yesterday. Some great work on, where we want to head, where we are, where we want to be. Many of you had input, our stakeholders, our cities, our neighboring cities, our board of supervisors, our tenants, our pilots, our businesses all had to say of what they expect of us. It was very positive. We're heading in that direction, and we hope to wrap that up in say in the next few months. And lastly, we've talked a lot about the public process for the studies for both airports. I want to pass on that our second airport layout plan update for Camarillo. The next public meeting is set for November 14th, 5:30 p.m. at the Camarillo Library, 4101 Las Posas Road. So December 14th, second public meeting. Airport layout plan, that's where we look at no changes, no significant changes, but what's the maintenance and updates we need to make for Camarillo Airport. So that's coming. And that's all I have, unless there's any specific questions.
Can I just ask a question with the holidays and everything that goes along for this time? Do you think we'll get a really good attendance for the December, or is it good to do one in January? It's wondered.
For the ALP update,
Yeah,
it's November 14th.
November 14th. And what was the one in December?
We don't have one in December yet.
Oh, okay, apologize. I misheard it.
Sorry,
Okay,
did I
You
say
said, I
something?
think you accidentally said December.
My ear, good ears. November
listening.
14th.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other comments? Camarillo. Do we have any public comments on that?
The mayor has a question. Nobody's online wishing to speak.
Mr. Chair. Director, the question I have is probably, maybe it could have been under authority comments, but the question I have is on the runway spoils that you have there on on Ventura Road. Can you give us any more information on the spoils, number one? And number two, when is there a timeline for removing those spoils? Or are we there yet? And I know there was some testing that was going to be done.
Right.
And the reason I'm asking is the director, because I still get some concerns and questions, not as bad as others, but
Sure.
what are they and how come they're covered and so forth.
What Mayor Gosa is talking about for our taxiway connector project at Oxnard Airport, there is a chemical in aircraft firefighting foam that when testing foam goes out or you respond to an emergency called PFAS. It's on airports that have those kinds of response vehicles. Basically, the water board in our region of this area has required in any project, ours included, basically hold grindings and test them before you put them. Normally in the old days in a project, you would just haul them off to us.
I call them spoils, but they're grinding, right?
The grind, exactly. So at this point, we are holding and we're following their directive protocols, which is plastic tarps on the bottom, cover them
That's
so
right.
that they don't, it's really don't wanting to get any of that material in groundwater. At this point, we don't know that any of that, but we've got to go through a testing process. So we're expecting for the first quarter of 2024 to be able to do that testing and then decide what to do with them, remediate those and put them somewhere else. So at this point, we're just holding.
So the timeline potentially could be a year or?
It could be. The challenge is that if they do test positive, there are no standards yet what to do with them. What are the baseline
landfill
standards? So that's a challenge. You haven't set those yet. And then what to do to remediate. We're expecting that most don't have any.
Right.
And in worst case scenario, probably we would just give it back to the airport and store them on the airport is what we'd like to do. I'm happy to report that our next project, we got a follow-up runway project at Oxnard, and we've designed it. One, we've minimized the excess spoils. First of all, that was designed into the project. And two, all the spoils will remain on physically operating.
Because I know when I was in the airport authority before, more as a regular, is we have an easement there in the north part of the airport that could potentially be used. In fact, there's an easement, land easement and an air easement, right until Club Road. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Director, thanks.
Do we, can we have a motion to receive and file the director's report?
So move.
Yeah, yeah, I can only speak for.
I want to vote for Cal.
Do we need a formal action on this?
Commonly, that's not,
For the director's report, we don't typically do
Yeah.
receive.
commonly that's received without a motion.
Right.
Thank you.
And chairs, I did want to just remark that for item 9, we do have Ms. Hatcher that wishes to speak on that. So when that comes up.
Okay. Now we've done the director's report, so we are on item 9, correspondence. We have a member of the public who wants to speak.
Thank you. Thank you again for giving me a chance to speak tonight. Again, my name is Renee Hatcher. I'm a resident of Old Town Camarillo. I wanted to comment that the increase in jet traffic is negative impact my home, and I've been told by airport staff that at this time, there's not a lot that can be done about incoming flight issues until after the noise study is complete. It cannot make the jets fly, the Fly Friendly program, and nothing can be done about jets arriving at midnight 1 and 2 a.m. However, one thing the airport staff does have control over is the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. That noise is also very disturbing. And I'm happy to note that there are letters or package that have been sent out, and I appreciate that. In that package, I noted that there's one jet that had 2 incidents in September where they flew out. And I'd like to know what are the steps that are used to address repeat offenders like this. How many times can a jet company be in violation of the noise curfew? How many notices are sent out? Is there any penalty? Is there any progression steps to address this? As this appears to be an area that can actually be addressed by airport staff, the residents are interested to know how it's being handled and are curious about how it's being handled.
Thank you, Ms. Hatcher. Any other comments from the public, Mr. Nathie?
Chairs, there is no member of the public wishing to speak on this item.
And so we're on item number 10, authority comments. Any general comments from members of the authority? Seeing none, we're adjourned.